This is a normal distribution. Some of you may have seen this. A normal distribution of an organisation. Marketing people use this all the time. So this is an example of an organisation. So at one end you get the early adopters, the people who take up ideas very easily. And at the other end you get the laggards, the people who are not in the least bit interested. Every organisation kind of follows, generally speaking, this normal distribution. And so in terms of readiness to collaborate, you're going to have people who are the early adopters. There are going to be people who are champing at the bit and say, let me at it. And you're going to have people at the other end saying, I'm not in the least bit interested, don't come near me. But that big chunk in the middle, that 95%, remain to be convinced. That's where the work is. I would suggest you spend most of your resources using the early adopters to help convince the rest, and maybe don't worry too much about the laggards until you really have to. But collaboration is a voluntary thing, it's a people thing, it's an involvement thing. And you're going to have these different types of people in every organisation, and that includes small organisations as well as large organisations. So here we go. What are these barriers? Now, there are many and varied, and there's lots of people doing lots of work on it. I'm going to quote the stuff from Morton Hansen, but Professor Linda Grattan at Ashridge University has done their own work on it. And there are lots of things going on that happen that people don't really talk about, don't really get discussed, don't really get addressed. So, what Hansen has done is put this into 4 quadrants. He said there are those who have the view, it's not invented here, we are not willing to seek collaboration. There are those who hoard, they are not willing to be part or share in a collaboration. And that's the top half of this quadrant. And the bottom half is about being able to, rather than being willing to or wanting to. It's about being able to find stuff, searching for stuff, see who the contacts are. And in the last quadrant, it's about the ability to transfer information and data. So let me go into that in a little bit more detail. So we have those who say, not invented here. We have an insular culture. We're pretty professional. We know our stuff. There's not much really anybody out there can teach us, because we are top class engineers, or medical professionals, or something else. So they take that kind of self-aggrandizement and say, we're it, nobody else can teach us very much, so collaboration doesn't really occur very easily. There are those who have status that say, well, you know, I've done my 7 years as an architect, I'm not going to talk to some kind of builder. I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm a fellow of the Mechanical Institute. I'm not going to talk to some kind of service mechanic, he can't teach me very much. So that kind of status stuff kicks in quite a lot, and you'll see that quite a lot in certainly the big professions around the large organisations. Then there's the self-reliance bit, which kind of says we should be able to handle this ourselves. It's a bit related to the insular culture. We're self-reliant. We're a can-do kind of organisation. We're can-do people. It's awkward for us to actually ask others to join in. And lastly, there's a fear that says if we have to ask, in some way we're diminished or made small. So that's the kind of not invented here people. Then there's a hoarding people who say, I don't want to give stuff to these other folks to collaborate with them. I'm feeling quite competitive, or we may be in competition with them. They may take something from us that we want to keep. We may have incentives. We've got budgets to protect. I don't want to share my budget. I've got a bonus. I don't want to share my bonus. Or I'm too busy. I've got a lot of stuff to do. Or if I have to give this up, I'm not as big as I used to be. My power base is halved. I used to control 500 people. Now, 100 of them are over there, or that work's been done somewhere else by a collaborative partner. I don't like that idea. So I'll keep it all to myself. And then, so that's the individual style of going about this. Then we have the kind of search barrier, where you get large organisations, lots of people, maybe geographically dispersed, And you just can't find the appropriate people that you're supposed to collaborate with, and nor can anybody external to you. So a small organisation that thinks they could help the council, could they find the right person? Not sure. Physical distance. It's a well-known fact, the more dispersed people are, the less communicative they are, the less collaborative they'll be. And this idea of give us information, it was referred to yesterday at a meeting, information overload is a real problem. Finding the appropriate information in among all that huge amount of information that we all keep throwing at each other is very difficult. So we can't find the right information to make the right connections with the right people to do some collaboration. And finally, in that area, poor human networks. We don't really connect individually. We might connect by email, text, maybe even through some kind of social networking media thing. But collaboration takes more than information. And we'll talk about a little bit that more later on. And lastly, and this is a little bit more difficult to understand, there's a transfer barrier. There's some stuff that people know that can't be easily transferred. So if you're a medical professional trying to tell a social worker something that is every medical professional knows, social workers might not get it very quickly. If you're an engineer explaining the workings of a combustion engine to a doctor, they don't get it very easily, but another engineer might get it very quickly. So there's some stuff that's easily transferred, there's tacit knowledge, people know from lots of years of experience how things work, don't know. For example, here in the council, the processes by which the political stuff happens, tacit knowledge. A lot of us know that. You try to tell anybody else about that, they don't get it very easily. It takes them ages to understand it, and trying to explain it can be quite difficult. Common references. I'm an engineer, I can talk engineer. You're a social worker, you talk social work. We don't have a common reference. Humour doesn't travel very well. British humour is understood by British people. Try telling a British joke to somebody in Sweden or Germany. Doesn't transfer, don't have a common reference. And lastly, weak ties. Don't have any connections on a personal basis, or many connections on a personal basis. So these are the typical cultural and professional barriers to making collaboration happen. So, if that's what goes wrong, what works? Well, the answer is really very, very simple, but once again, it's really hard to do. We will collaborate where we actually believe in a shared result, cause, something like that. So whether it's save the whale, child, dog, education for children, or dignity in old age, I'm a great favour in that. That's something we can believe in. That's something we feel strongly about, we'll participate, we'll collaborate with that. But there's another side to this, which is the result, yeah, that's okay, I'm getting into that, but it serves me to be on that committee, that group, to go there, because something else will come out of it. I'll get to mix with people I like. Or I'll take part in that protest in Aberdeen against the bedroom tax, because it saves me some money. So the answer to collaboration is very simple, but not easy to do. It's quite difficult to do, in fact. So I would suggest you look for the common result, common enthusiasm for a result, and what's in it for them, and you, and me, and everybody else. The people you want to collaborate with need to have a reason to be there. Here's a kicker. You can have all the governance, all the structure, all the rules, and all the process, and yet people go out and collaborate without any of that. Because they're kind of motivated to do that. There's something in it for them. They don't need the rules. They make their own up, where it's important to them. And that's quite important for us to think about that. Because if you're trying to get people to do stuff that they feel strongly about, that they shouldn't be doing, all the governance and rules in the world won't create collaboration. It might create compliance. It might create command and control, but it won't create compliance or collaboration. So, Think about that. We don't need rules. They help. Sometimes they hinder. Sometimes the rules in the organisation actually stop collaboration from happening. We just saw an example in incentives. My bonus is about me. I want my 10%. If I have to collaborate with you, I might only get 5%. So the organisational system of incentives may actually work against collaboration.